Welcome to my review of A Most Violent Year, directed by Chandor, a drama that centers on Abel, a wealthy immigrant who strives to keep the American dream alive for him and his family as he pursues heightened opportunities for his heating oil business in New York City, 1981. However, after his business becomes the target of hijackers, everything Abel has fought and continues to fight for is put at risk. First of all, before I start talking about A Most Violent Year, I want to apologize for my inactivity as of lately, and that's because I was really spending all my time making my top 20 video. So if you haven't seen it yet, do check it out. I did put a lot of effort into making it. It is a bit long though. It's about 25 minutes as a warning, but there are timestamps for those who just don't want to, watch all of that and just want to kind of get to the meat. It's got a little bit of everything, so it's not like all a bunch of these types of films or those types of films. It's fairly eclectic, at least I would like to think it's fairly eclectic, so yes, do check it out. But as for A Most Violent Year, this is a gangster flick, and that almost kind of seems like an improper title, not just the title itself, because it's not a very violent film, but saying that this is a gangster flick, because it's not really dramatic in that sense. There's really no shootouts, there's really nothing really of that stature. There is one car chase in the film, but it's portrayed in a way that is not very dramatic. It's actually kind of natural. In fact, some people may even find this scene to be somewhat humorous because at some point it becomes a foot chase and they just seem to kind of go on forever, as they're running. And what I did kind of find a little odd about the scene is that they never seem to run out of breath. You run for that long, you'd just be dying, I think. But I mean, that's beside the point. Ultimately, as I've stated in my synopsis, this is about a person who has already achieved the American dream, yet wants to keep it alive, wants to advance it. And he wants to do it in a way that's actually clean. He doesn't want to become a gangster, to simply put it. Now, whether or not he partook in some criminalizing acts before this film took place, that's never entirely explored, but I mean, regardless, we are seeing him as somebody who doesn't want to give in to, such temptation. And as we all know of a lot of these great success stories, there's always that one person who ends up getting screwed over at some point on the road to that ultimate American dream. I'm not saying that anybody necessarily gets screwed over here, but typically with these kinds of tales, someone has to get their hands dirty. And now, does he get his hands dirty? Well, you have to see the film to find out. But it is interesting to watch him be tempted with such thoughts and taking the easy way out, essentially. But as for a word of warning, there is a lot of talking in this film. There's a lot of business talk, to be more specific. And it's not like The Wolf of Wall Street where you have, people running around naked. You have, someone snorting coke off of a prostitute's ass or whatever. There's nothing like that in the film. Although I think if that were the case, this film would have been more entertaining. And no, it's not The Wolf of Wall Street in a sense, like it's musical. There is a score here, but it's used kind of subtly. And not only that, but there actually is really one portion of the film where you have 1980s music playing, and that's at the very beginning, and that's it, and it's by the Isley Brothers, which is a great song and a great way to, sort of introduce the viewer into the film. But after that, you're kind of expecting something that's going to be like, oh wow, this film's got to have a great soundtrack, and it just doesn't. It's not the kind of film. Kind of like the film's protagonist, this is a very subdued film. However, there are moments of suspense, and as I stated before, I was invested in the character of Abel, seeing exactly where the story was going to take him. But you also have this whole plot with him and these hijackers, and throughout this entire plot, you're trying to figure out, okay, who exactly is behind all of this? Who's doing this to him? And although it doesn't end in a place that is holy shit, it does have something that I would deem to be a payoff, but just keep in mind, it's nothing that is like a mind fuck or anything. It's just, well, it is what it is, and it does serve a purpose. However, there is a very small portion of the film, and I do mean it is a very small portion of the film, and it focuses on the character Julian. And he's somebody who works for Abel. He's one of the truck drivers for him. And he's somebody who's trying to achieve that American dream. He's not somebody who's yet achieved it, but he's trying to get there. So there is a parallel with him and Abel, but I just didn't really care for him. Reason being, I just didn't really find him all too likable. He's a bit of a coward. He's not all too interesting. And the execution of the character is something that I just found to be a little unnecessary and a little too heavy-handed. Now, as for the performances, they're all top-notch, especially Oscar Isaac, and if you don't know who he is, you will know who he is by the end of this year because he's in the upcoming Star Wars film. And he's an excellent actor, and he was excellent in Inside Llewyn Davis. But he is a tremendous actor, and he's somebody to definitely look out for. Not only that, but you also have Jessica Chastain, who plays Oscar Isaac's wife in the film, and she's kind of the real gangster in the family. She's the one who chooses to be that person that Oscar Isaac chooses not to be. You know, she's the one who's not afraid to get her hands a little dirty. She's the one who kind of takes charge. And Jessica Chastain is an actor that I do like, but she's an actor who has never really impressed me all too much. But I think here she's really kind of broke that mold, and I was actually kind of impressed with her in this. I think she was really, really good. And I've heard some complaints saying that some people didn't really feel any chemistry between Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain, and I would actually agree with those people. However, I think that's kind of done on purpose. Their marriage is a true partnership, and you might be saying, well, of course, you know, marriage is a partnership. No, I'm talking about their marriage is like a business. And I'm not necessarily saying that they don't care for one another, because I do think they care for one another. However, I seriously doubt they'd be together if one couldn't actually offer something to the other. Overall, I give A Most Violent Year a good 3.5 out of 5, so I do recommend it. It's not a film that I would necessarily go back and rewatch, but it is a film that I would definitely recommend as a first viewing if you haven't already seen it. So, as always, I'm Colyn Kirkland, and thank you so much for watching.